Hey, what's up, everybody? We are back with another episode of the Right Quality. Man, it's been a crazy week. The playoffs have started. We have at least seen each series go 3 games. By the time we're watching this, some series would have went 4, and some teams might have been eliminated. We have yet to see. Man, we will first, before we do anything, we want to acknowledge that today, as we're recording, but for y'all watching it as of yesterday, it was Kobe Bryant's birthday. So, of course, Kobe tragically passed earlier this year. And so, I mean, we're already seeing, when we're recording now, like how much, love that he's receiving. We expect to see that throughout the rest of the day and throughout the rest of the year, honestly. But today is also, when y'all are watching, it's 8/24, which is self-proclaimed Mamba Day to to a lot of people. So the celebration will just keep going on. But we'll just start this episode with our favorite memories of Kobe, or just the things I think that we appreciate about Kobe. I think you can never talk about those things too much, because I feel like he really just left that much of an imprint, even past basketball to a degree, on a lot of people. So I think you have your moment or your memory. So we'll just start with you.
Yeah. So one of my favorite memories is Kobe's last game. Normally, like if you know me, I hate recording sports events because I like to experience them when everybody else is experiencing them.
Right.
But that was one of the events that like I had to record even though I was watching, and watching him drop 60 in his final game. That's crazy. All the stars in the seats. You
Right.
got Shaq recording like he did at that All-Star game with that camcorder. Like it was just a wonderful moment, and I was glad that Kobe got to go out like that.
Yeah, I don't think you don't see too many players get to genuinely go out like that. I mean, you've seen a lot of players who, I mean, like Jordan never really got that true farewell. I mean, because he came back with Washington and was still balling, obviously, but it wouldn't have been the same send off as if he had, was done in '98. It wasn't that type of send off, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm glad I was able to actually catch the end of that game live. And I mean, seeing him just, I don't even know how he even found the energy to go for those points, because he got most of them in the fourth quarter. But it was nostalgic. It was classic. I feel like we all were in a time warp just watching that. But that's an amazing memory, and I think people will always kind of remember his, not his legacy for that, but I think that would be a huge part of his legacy, is that he was able to go out in really typical Kobe fashion. I don't think there's any other way that Kobe really would have wanted to go out and get the win on top of that and get the win. So that was amazing. I think it's funny because like my favorite memory or moment from him is not it's not basketball related. It's really I only laugh because like the commercials, so it's not stupid. Like it's stupid, but
Mhm.
it's also real. It's also very Kobe. But the commercial where he's talking with all the other athletes, and he's basically sitting there telling them, you got to be a different animal but the same beast. And all the athletes and celebrities, and I just remember Kanye's response, like he just kept,
Yeah.
"I'm the best." Like, what do you, what do
What
you
does
do?
that mean?
Like, what do you do when you sell more records? What do you do when you have sold all your records? Sell more records. But I'm
Mhm.
already the best. Be better. Like what? And then he was like, "But are you a different animal and the same beast?" I love Kanye's response. It's like, what does that mean, Kobe Bryant?
Yeah.
You're welcome. Like what? What is he talking about? But it's funny because I get it now, because it's like in your approach to anything that you do, like of course his was basketball and he talks about it. I also talk about it all the time, like how reading the Mamba Mentality, the book, really helped kind of make that approach to life make sense. Is that you will go through phases in life where you can't attack things the same way. Like Kobe couldn't attack basketball the same way after a while due to age. He couldn't attack his life after basketball in the exact same fashion, that he attacked, playing the actual sport. But it's the idea of, can you be the same beast in terms of, your will and your determination to reach a goal, but be a different animal in the sense of what you may need to fit that specific goal. So of course, he doesn't need to do the same things to be a filmmaker that he needs to do to be a professional athlete, but having the same mindset in the sense of
Yeah.
your work ethic, determination, that stuff. So when that came full circle, it was like I was laughing, but like he was spitting gems, he was spitting facts. But yeah, I think that also seeing that '08 team too, and seeing him on that '08 team, I think that Olympic team. I don't think a lot of people, for whatever reason, when you think of that Redeem team, like Kobe's not the first name that comes up, oddly enough, and not that he was necessarily overlooked by any means, but you just immediately kind of think to Bron. You know, I think Wade had a coming out party in that Olympic, season for real. But and it's weird because like Kobe, like he's mentioned, he's just not that first name, which is wild because I mean, '08 wasn't far from Kobe prime at all. You know, so and it was really before I think the others kind of ascended, well, maybe outside of Wade, the others kind of really ascended in their prime. I mean, Bron was kind of just getting into his prime at around that '08, '09 season.
I think that was also where a lot of people started to kind of disrespect Kobe a little bit because that was when he lost to Boston. He lost to Boston earlier that year, so a lot of people was trying to look him over. No, don't.
Yeah, no, I never got when the league, because the league started to do it toward the end of his career when like he would start getting ranked really low in terms of like player rankings and stuff like that. And there were even people saying that like he won box office, and I'm just like, have we been watching the same Kobe Bryant?
Right.
What's going on? But I mean, Kobe's legacy will live on. I mean, I feel like people could talk about Kobe for hours on end, days on end, So, but we just wanted to acknowledge that to begin this episode. He is definitely, dearly missed, of course, in the sports world. It was beautiful to see Powell with the family as well.
Yeah, definitely.
That on social media, that was beautiful. And when Sharif posts, that always kind of tugs at the heartstrings. But yeah, so we're now, after doing that, now we're going to hop back up into this playoff action. Like we said, every series up until this point, as far as we know, has been 3 games. So, man, we'll start with the West, and we'll kind of touch on every series and just kind of, I would love to hear, how you're feeling, 3 games in. We gonna start with our boys, we gonna start with Lakers Blazers. Here's my thing. First and foremost, them being down 2-1 is not frustrating or surprising to me. The more frustrating thing is that they, at least in 2 games, not in game 2, but game 1 they were able to do it. In game 3, they were in position to win the game. Like, these are outside of game 2. These are not games where they're getting thoroughly outplayed necessarily. I think that's the more frustrating part, just knowing that some other things just need to be going right now that aren't going. So, I mean, I look at it like this. AD is, when you look at the Lakers, first of all, they are a juggernaut. As flawed as they are, and every team is, I think people sometimes forget just how good of a team they are. I mean, you got AD, even after his inefficient, game 1, he's still averaging 29 and 11 in the series so far. Bron is averaging a triple-double in this series. That's probably in large part to the triple-double in game 1. But he's averaging 23, 10, and 11 in the series. And it's you can't beat that. Like, if Bron is averaging a triple-double and AD's averaging essentially 30 and 11, that's extremely tough to do. And I think the huge difference that we've seen in game 1 in the last 2 games is that supporting cast for LA showed up, which I think that will be the one thing that scares me about LA is they have such a inconsistent at times supporting cast, because if the supporting cast played the way they played against a team that's full strength or a team that's just a little bit better, I don't know if what Bron and AD are doing would be enough. Like, I don't know if that would work, against somebody like the Clippers or the Rockets, or something like that. Or even a team like the Raptors, like a team that is deep, but also can match you just as well in terms of experience and size and all of that. So that's kind of my first takeaways, just from a standpoint of the Lakers and the shift in the series that we started the game 1. But what are some of your thoughts?
Unlike you, I am frustrated because I feel like Portland came out, they could have played better in game 1, but they still got the win. You know what I mean?
Right. That was the wild part to me. I was like,
Right.
oh,
So it's
good.
like they didn't build on that momentum. Like, granted, the Lakers will only get better because, like you said, AD came out in game one. He didn't really play well. LeBron, he famously says that game one is like his field game. You know what I mean? He gets the vibe of the other team and then he goes out and attacks. Okay, we get that. But on the other side, Portland, you got to be ready for that. Like, you knew come game two, LeBron and AD not about to miss the X amount of free throws. In game one, they missed so many free throws. They left a lot of points on the line.
Yeah.
And I just feel like Portland didn't capitalize or like seize the moment in games 2 and 3. Like you said, in game 3, they were still in it. So I don't understand. That's what really frustrates me. It's like Portland didn't anticipate more from the Lakers. Like, they got game one and just thought it was going to be sweet for the remainder of the series. No, you're still facing a LeBron James who, like you said, is averaging a triple double, and Anthony Davis who can dominate a game at the flip of a coin. So it's like, y'all need to, like, come on now, get your head in the game. Like, they haven't been doing that.
Yeah, no, like Anthony Davis has dominated the last 2 games. And yeah, like you said, the shock is not at the Lakers because this is what you would expect from them, especially LeBron. The shock is more so with Portland, but it's hard. Like, there's a lot that I really can't fault Portland for. And it's not to say that they shouldn't be playing harder, from a fan's perspective or being smarter about things. But it's just tough because like they're not deep right now. Like they have at best 7-man rotation, and that's a strong 7. Like, they played more people, but you got people getting minutes that probably naturally wouldn't if they were at full health. You got things. Zach Collins will not be returning because he's having season-ending ankle surgery. So that's a huge blow just in terms of another productive part of their offense. And so when people are sitting there saying that, the hottest offense in the bubble, has been stymied. First of all, I mean, the Lakers have always been a very solid defensive team, so let's not take that away from them. But then secondly, you got to understand, when you have Dame being Dame, they're pressuring Dame, full court the entire game. So as much as he was effective in game one, and mind you, Dame's averaging 28, 4 and 4 in the series, which, I mean, isn't bad or subpar at all. But he's also having to work so hard to get those points because he's getting pressured the whole way up the floor. Then he's getting doubled off a screen simply because, like, he's that dangerous. So it's hard for Dame to get in the rhythm. And I think what I've seen in terms of Portland having difficulty on offense is that if Dame can't get in the rhythm, even when you have CJ getting in the rhythm, outside of those two, like, Melo's been struggling. And that's probably the most disappointing thing is that Melo just has not been able to be the offensive spark that they really need him to be. And that's not, I mean, we saw it in game 3. Like, that was the first time we saw it.
And honestly, throughout the regular season as well, his numbers against the Lakers have always been subpar this season. So while I hoped for more from Melo, it's not quite surprising on his end. My thing is, like you said, Portland needs that supporting cast to step up. Like, game 1, Wenyen Gabriel came out of nowhere. Like, I just feel like, what happened? What happened? Like, we knew all this pressure was going to come on Dame. Yes, Dame sets the tone, but at the same time, you do have CJ McCollum. And I know what you're saying, like, even when he's in his stride, that doesn't translate onto the team, but it should because he's one of those leaders on that team.
We need more. CJ is only averaging 20 in the series, and I don't want to scuff at 20 like it's not impressive, but I also expect more from CJ because he's capable of more. So I think CJ needs to be closer to Dame in terms of what he's bringing. And I need him to show up more than just in the fourth quarter. He can't be quiet for as long as he is. I think we need to see more from Melo. We need to see more from Nurkic too. I know Nurkic is battling with bigs all day, so that's tough. I love the move to Whiteside to the starting lineup, but Whiteside is just very ineffective offensively, at least in this series. So it's providing them with somewhat of a defensive boost to a degree and helping, but it's hurting them as well in a lot of ways because he's not posing an offensive threat.
And even defensively, the Lakers are smart enough to know how to draw fouls against Hassan because, Hassan is a shot blocker, but all you got to do is go into his chest, and that's it. It's the end. It's a whistle.
They took 40 free throws in game 3.
Yes, that's a ton.
And Bron and AD both missed a boatload of free throws
Mm-hmm.
that night. So that's tough. I still think the Blazers might be able to pull out another game. It's tough. I would not be surprised if this is done in 5. I really wouldn't. But I do think the Blazers have the potential to potentially still win a game. Just because I don't really see Dame going away that easily. But I mean, this Lakers team is extremely strong, and Portland is just really outmatched. So it's really hard to kind of. There's only so much you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the Blazers Lakers series so far through 3 games. Clips Mavs through 3 games. How you feeling about that? Clippers are up 2-1 currently,
Yeah.
but how you feeling about the series so far?
I like the series. I feel like Dallas is doing what they need to do. I like the fact that Porzingis got more involved in the game that they won. I
Yes.
also like the fact that Luka has been Luka. He hasn't wavered at all in terms of production. On the Clippers side, like that, yeah, they lost that game, but still, it's the same thing. They're doing what they need to do. I haven't really seen too much of them, kind of falling off. I like what Montrezl Harrell is doing. I don't like what he said to Luka, but he's bringing that Draymond Green type presence to that team like he normally does, but dude been tripping.
We told people y'all gotta stop trying Luca, bro. Like Luca is not one of them. Like
He's
like
not, yeah.
Luca is not one of them. And they've been trying him all series. And but you gotta think about it like whenever you like it could be in a rec, it could be in the NBA, it could be wherever. Whenever you got a white boy that can hoop for real, that ain't, gonna back down, the first
Mhm.
thing, people usually try to resort to is going that route and trying to be rough with him or just pick a fight because he killing them. And it's like,
Yeah.
hey, look, I get it. It's the playoffs. There's intensity. But come on, brother. Like the respect has to be there in some regard. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, don't make it seem like he not out here doing what he doing. Are you worried about Luka's injury?
I am not.
Me
I'm
neither.
not.
It didn't
Because I
seem
feel like
serious.
like we saying, Luca's tough. That boy a dog. I feel like he can come
I mean, he's
back
not
from
gonna
that.
sit. Yeah, he's not gonna
No.
sit. I know that. So
Yeah, he's gonna take that up. I'm not worried about it at all.
yeah, I mean, Luka's averaging 24, 8 and 8 in the series. Porzingis is averaging 23, just under 9 rebounds in the series. That's pretty on par. I guess you could argue that maybe you want to see a little bit more from Porzingis, but I mean that's tough. It really sucks that game 1 he got ejected because I really feel
Yeah.
like I feel like Dallas could have won that game and
Mhm.
probably would have won that game the way it was going before the ejection.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Dallas is doing what they need to do. So I'm not. There's not too much more I need to see from Dallas. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really about are they going to be able to get leads, hold them, and can they pull out
Mhm.
games when it's clutch time. Back to the Clipper side though, so Kawhi's been extremely dominant, averaging 33 points per game, 10 rebounds a game, just under 6 assists per game. Doing it not quietly, but Kawhi's always been like it's not flashy. Like you're not looking up like Kawhi's 30 was I don't know, like just all over the place. Like it's very spotty. It's very in spurts, but he still dominates. And it's making up for. It's not playoff P no more. It's pandemic P. Apparently,
Mhm.
that's what people are calling it. It's pandemic P. But he had. I mean, Paul George had a great game 1. But after that, pretty mediocre. I mean, he's for the series. He's only averaging 17 points a game, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Just not enough. I mean, you got to show up.
I don't know what's going on with Paul. I don't.
I don't get it.
Like this is surprising to me. It is, but as a team, the Clippers I feel like are doing what they need to do. But
Yes.
Paul George, where you at? Like you are the Paul George that Kawhi Leonard wanted specifically, and I feel like he is disappointed right now. I really do feel like Kawhi is disappointed.
He should be. He should be.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I guess if this was a series where he could afford to do it, it would be. But like, you can't do this moving forward. Like, there is no series moving forward that you can afford to disappear like this.
At
Not
all.
score
At
20
all.
points. Is you cannot be the second option on this team and be scoring less than 20 points, especially when there's not a defender on the other side that is equal to you. It's not like you're being guarded by LeBron or the Covington. I don't know who, somebody who is relatively worth putting in the same conversation as you. So he has to do more. We have to see more. I still think I would not be surprised if the Mavs got another game, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they didn't get another game, just depending on Kawhi's dominance, really. And if PG does show up, then I feel like it's really tough for Dallas. But I still think 5 or 6. I don't think it goes more than 6 though, if anything. But 2-3 games is tough because Dallas has looked good and they've posed a very legitimate challenge, I think, to a Clippers team that is not at his best, that being an understatement, when PG is playing like he's been playing. But, hopefully he turns it around. Rockets Thunder. It's now 2-1. Thunder were able to pick up game 3. How you feeling? Do you think, we didn't pick the Thunder to win the series, but do you think they can get another win? Do you think they push the series to 6, 7? Do you see Russ coming back based off, these events?
I don't. Yeah, OKC won. I don't see Houston letting them win again. That's just like if you saw Mike D'Antoni walking off the court, like the way he walked off the court was like, no, never again. I feel like he got into Houston's behind. Like we not OKC. So I don't see Houston really letting too much of this going on anymore. I think Game 5 is the end. I think Harden comes out pretty dominant. I think Covington redeems himself, all of that. I don't think Russ is needed to win this series either.
Yeah, I don't either. If I'm Houston, I'm resting Russ the entire series. If I'm OKC, I'm gonna tell you it's disrespect, but that's relevant because they're not gonna win the series. But if I'm Houston, I'm definitely resting Russ because you're gonna get the Lakers next round. And of course, you're gonna need him to make that a series, and of course, that's what everybody's gonna want to see. So, you have Harden. Harden's averaging 32 in the series, 32, 6, and 7. Expected from Harden. But Houston has also been playing extremely well as a team. They have, whether it's, Eric Gordon, Austin Rivers, they have people who step up and, are giving you 15, 20 a night that are playing their part. So Houston's looked really well. I think even a little bit better than I thought they looked, but I also have to acknowledge that they look great in the seeding games as well. So, or not great, but they looked really good in the seeding games as well. So it's not too much of a surprise. So I definitely expect no more than 6 if OKC somehow finds a way to get another win. But I agree that it's more than likely going to be 5. I would like to say, though, CP3 is averaging, he almost had a triple-double game 1. He's averaging 25 and 7. The assist numbers are a little bit low for me, but I guess I'm also not surprised because he's had to take on more of a scoring role in OKC. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander showed up in game 2 and game 3. Game 2 more specifically with 31, even though it was in a loss. Schroeder was big last night in their win in game 3 with 29. So it's like the pieces are there. Like when the pieces show up, it makes it interesting. But I still agree that I don't know if they just have enough to beat this Rockets team. The small ball is working. Small ball is working. So
and that's why I brought up Robert Covington because he's small, but it's like he has that presence of a dynamic big. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I like Robert.
Yeah, no, I like Covington too. He was also on my fantasy team, but no, I like Covington too. But small ball is working, and until somebody stops it, that they look like not a runaway train to the finals necessarily, but they look pretty tough to beat because I don't know if there's too many people that can really match with that lineup the way Houston is structured and set up. Okay, last series in the West, we got the Jazz and the Nuggets.
And this is a surprising series to me.
Look, I had Denver, but I said this was going to be a series. I said it was going to be a series. I didn't know how it was going to play out necessarily, but
I didn't even think it was going to be a series, honestly. I'm not saying that the Jazz were easy, but the Jazz have been the most surprising to me. Like they're averaging, I believe it was like 124 points in this series, And Donovan Mitchell is averaging just over 35 points. I think it was like 35.7 points
Yeah.
per game. And then the addition of Mike Conley,
Yeah.
where Donovan has been able to, like, the ball isn't in his hands all the time. So he's able to move off the ball, move off screens, and score that way. I think that's a lot easier for Donovan rather than him bringing the ball up the court. And that has proven to be major for Utah.
No, huge. And the fact that we know Donovan Mitchell can go and get 30, but he doesn't have to. That's huge because now, especially when you have somebody like Conley, and let's not forget Gobert. Gobert's averaging basically a double, 20 and just under 10 rebounds. So he's doing his part. But like you said, having Conley there, and Conley is somebody who's always been able to give you 20, if the shots are there. But like you said, if Donovan Mitchell can take breaks or be more of a facilitator and then kind of just put his foot on the gas when he wants to and it not be a necessity for him to win, that makes Utah really dangerous. And I'm not sure what Denver needs to do. But they need to figure it out.
That's another thing. I don't want nobody to think I'm set tripping either. That's not my sign. Not my sign. But yeah, as far as Denver, like, I felt like MPJ was doing what he needed to do. Like, he came in the bubble busting.
Yeah.
Like, MPJ he blossomed.
He did.
Jokic.
I need more. I need more. Jokic is only giving me 24 and 8. And I need more from you, Jokic. You are the star of that team. You're the leader of that team. I need a little bit more from you. Murray too. Murray had that real big game one, and then has went quiet since then.
In all actuality, I feel like in order for Denver to really be that team, Jokic would have to put up numbers like Anthony Davis. He would have to dominate a game.
Yeah, he would have to. And the thing is, I really feel like Jokic can because he's that skilled. I just I don't.
We've seen it.
We've seen it, but I think it also depends on that supporting cast as well. I mean, Jamal Murray had what did he have game one? I think he had over 30 in game one. But then I think in the next two games, he falls under 20 points. I don't think he scores 20 points in either game. So that can't happen. Somebody also made what I think is a great point about Murray is that he is he's the second best player on a really good team.
Yeah. And
that's kind of where it sits with him. Which sucks because I feel like the potential is there. But, I don't know if he can step up to the occasion and put up the numbers that I feel like would be required of him for Denver to really, even if they make it, out of this series, to make it any further, I don't know if he's going to give us the numbers and give them the productivity that they need. I'm not changing or reneging on my original pick, but I also would not necessarily be surprised if Denver lost.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm changing my original pick either. I think tonight's game really.
It'll tell if Utah goes up 3-1, that's tough. I don't see.
And
Denver.
that would be a 3-game win streak for Denver. I mean, for Utah.
Yeah, and I don't see Denver winning 3 straight against Utah.
Yeah,
not 3 straight. So I don't. But it's also the bubble, so who knows? But I don't see it. I don't think that'll happen. But that's the West. I mean, the West is pretty much kind of shaken out the way we thought. But I still think the series are relatively interesting, more interesting than some people may have originally thought. But to the East, where things are not so interesting and somewhat predictable, but still a lot to break down and discuss. We'll start with my Bucks, who for some odd reason decided to lose game one. Vucevic went for 35 and 15. Why? I don't get it. But
I think he's averaging 29 against the Bucks in this series.
Yeah. Vucevic is Jesus Christ. He's averaging something. I had it here somewhere.
Something that you don't like.
No, I hate it. I have where are my notes? Where are my notes? I had it something. The man's averaging too much. That's okay. The man's averaging way too much. I don't like it at all. But he did cool off in game 3. But I mean, Vucevic is the problem, so I don't want to necessarily not make it seem like especially with him being his main scoring option on Orlando and getting the shots that he gets. 30 is not really surprised. I also really don't have a problem with him scoring 30, seeing as he's probably the only one that's going to do that.
Right.
So it is what it is. I mean, one team usually has that player anyway. I mean, that's how Philly looks right now, but we'll get to them in a little bit. More importantly, I mean, the Bucks should, because I thought they were going to sweep, but the Bucks should win in 5. I don't see why they would lose another game at this point.
I agree.
But here's where I'm pissed. Giannis is averaging 31 points per game, 6 assists per game, and 16 rebounds a game on 54% shooting. Khris Middleton is averaging 11 points per game.
How much y'all pay him?
I don't even want to think of the number. I don't want to think of the number. I don't want to think about it. I don't even want to look it up. I don't want to know. I just know it's too much. I know it's far too much.
Yeah.
11 points per game? Game 2, he had 2 points.
Yeah. Dante DiVincenzo, I think, outscored him game 2. That should never happen. Not saying Dante
outscored him in game 2. Pat Connaughton had 15 points.
Yeah.
So the Bucks will win in 5, but if they want to have any shot at Miami, Middleton, you need to be averaging 25 points. There's no discussion, no question. I don't need no never mind. You need to be averaging 25 points, and you need to be shooting better than 32% from the floor. Simple as that. It has to happen for them to have a shot.
I can get those numbers for that amount of money.
Like, it just makes me more upset because it's like you paid him that money and you let a player like Brogdon go. And I was really having this conversation the other day because I was like, I was never sold on Middleton as like my second go-to. I'm sorry, I was never sold on Middleton for that. And I feel like Brogdon, honestly, is a better fit anyway. More so because I think Brogdon's the more consistent player, but that's just me. And I also feel like if you pay Brogdon, which wouldn't have been as much as you paid Middleton, and you left some of that money on the table, you may have had room to go get a solid veteran, maybe a role player, but not like a role player that's going to produce. You may not have went and got that second star, or maybe you do. Like if you're gonna get rid of Brogdon, you might as well let Middleton walk and actually go get somebody and pay them that money. Like you gave Middleton got contracts up there with you. We stuck with this man for 5 years.
Yeah. I think Middleton contract rivals Paul George's, I think.
It probably does.
Yeah.
I'm sure it does. Unacceptable. Giannis is dominating as expected. Giannis is doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. When the team and the bench shows up, the Bucks are who the Bucks are supposed to be. But Middleton, there's no reason that he has not scored 20 points in this series yet. That is ridiculous. That doesn't make sense. Okay, that's blasphemy. All right, that doesn't make sense. Bledsoe in game 2 and game 3 also has done his part. I feel like Bledsoe is supposed to be that 14 to 15 point per game scorer. He's supposed to get you about 6 or 7 assists, rebound the ball as a guard. He's been doing that the last 2 games. So it's Middleton. Whatever you want to show up, we'll gladly accept you, Middleton.
Yeah, we'll open the door for you, I promise.
Wait, the door is already open. We're waiting on you. So the next series, Raptors and Nets. Let me just start by saying, I mean, I know Fred VanVleet is nice, but my God, the man is averaging 25 and 8 in this series. They're probably going to sweep, but I mean, Toronto's a really well-rounded team. And I think people just don't give them, I won't say don't give them credit, but they're just not acknowledged, I think, because of the assumption with Kawhi leaving that they were just going to be in shambles like that.
I'm not going to lie. I'm one of those people. Now, I didn't think that – I didn't think they would be the number 2 seed. I'm going to start with saying that. I knew they would make the playoffs, but I thought they would be middle of the pack. Like, I definitely thought Boston would be a lot better than them. I thought that Philly would be higher than them. But for Toronto, like you said, Fred VanVleet, Fred, you trying to get that contract. Like,
Freddie trying to get the payday.
Yes. And then I love Kyle Lowry. I think he's one of them players that he'll get under your skin, but you don't even know he's under your skin until he's under your skin. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a developed thing. It's just like Like, I
Yeah,
don't know. It's like when you already got the mosquito bite. Like, you don't feel the mosquito, but when you got the mosquito bite, you're like, this mosquito.
that's
But
real.
yeah, I like Kyle. I think that's Kyle's game for real. But I like him. I think he's a really good leader too. He's one of them silent leaders, but he's a leader.
He's a great leader. Siakam is doing his part. They're a good team. Like they're a really good team.
Yeah.
And you have teams that don't have stars that do well. And I don't, especially in the East, I don't think they'll need a star to compete. They can compete with Milwaukee. They can compete with Boston. They can compete with Miami. You know, so I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in the East because of that. But they're a threat and they're a very strong team. Especially the way they're playing. They've probably been one of the more consistent teams in the bubble that's been flying under the radar. Two of the things I want to point out about the Raptors. Well, one, before that, the Nets, you called it. I thought they may get one. You were right. They got close to getting one. Probably going to get swept. But, I mean, look, the Nets are undermanned. They didn't really have huge expectations coming into the bubble. I can't imagine. So it is what it is. But my last 2 points on the Raptors. One, would you consider Kyle Lowry to be not the most famous, but is Kyle Lowry the best Raptor of all time?
No. No. No.
Who is?
You got VC.
Didn't get a ring with Toronto.
You got Bosch.
Didn't get a ring with Toronto.
Who was there with Kyle though?
I know. I hear you. That was the same thing I was saying when the question was posed to me. But I had to, and not that I so much changed my mind because I still think it's VC, me personally. But a lot of people will say that because Lowry has stuck it out, because he was effective and a part of the championship run, he necessarily wasn't just riding Kawhi's coattails. He did show up, and he has the ring that other players don't. So if you're talking to somebody that cares about rings and that is their
Come on, bro.
People, I'll get that clip of your face. That's hilarious. I'm just saying what people be thinking. I
don't like the way people be thinking. No.
I agree. I agree. I'm just saying.
I get he didn't ride Kawhi's coattails, but he still had Kawhi.
This is true.
You know what I mean? Like he still had him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
get it. I feel you.
People, okay. I don't know. I feel like that's the same thing as saying LeBron was the best Heat ever.
No, that's Wade.
Right. So it's like
no.
I feel like that's the same thing as people saying Kyle is the best Raptor. No, it's Vince. Whether there's a ring or not. Wade still did what he did without LeBron. Even though Wade got a ring, yes, whatever. He had Shaq, but he's still the best Heat ever. You know what I mean?
I mean, Wade is Flash. I don't.
Right.
I'm not going to argue that at all. I feel you. I get it. We on the same thing. But that question was posed to me, and I think a lot of people will be split on it.
It's not.
All that to say, I just respect Kyle Lowry a little bit more than I used to. But anyway.
Okay, let me ask you this though: Do you think Kyle Lowry is a Hall of Famer? That's all I needed. Vince is. That's all I needed.
I don't. There are people that will say he should be because of his ring. No. Absolutely not. So,
right. Yeah. But it's easily yes for Vince, right?
Yeah. I mean, Vince made the dunk contest. Well, he's a part. He's a part of making the dunk contest legendary. I don't want to say he made it legendary because that was so the Dr. J MJ.
But yeah, that 2000 dunk contest.
That's still the best dunk contest. That's still the best dunk contest outing of all time.
Yes, we're not gonna forget the man put his arm in.
Bow Wow rapped about it. Or was it it was Jermaine Dupri. That's not the point. Anyway, moving on from the Raptors and all of that. And from that series, they're going to sweep. So, to this Boston-Philly series, this is sad. This is so sad. That's all I have to say. This is so sad. Embiid is averaging 30 and 13 with just I won't say no help, but like it's just, they don't have enough. Like they don't have enough to make a difference. I don't.
I want more from Tobias.
I do. For the payday, you need to step up. You were. Let's put it like this. Ben, even with Ben there, I still see Tobias as your most effective second option. To me, from a pure offensive standpoint, Tobias is more of a second option than Ben because Ben refuses to shoot the ball. But especially with Ben being out, Tobias, where you at? We supposed to be seeing 20, 25 from you. We're supposed to make your imprint on the game, and I don't think we're seeing that. And I didn't think they was gonna get swept.
I didn't see a sweep, but
but also looking at the other side of the ball, Tatum's averaging 28 and 8. Jaylen Brown's averaging 23 and 6, and Kemba's averaging 21. You got 3 people averaging over 20 points a game. That's tough.
Tough. Saying that boy is special. Jason Tatum is special.
Special.
He is special.
Going places. But Boston looks good, man. And I mean, Philly's Philly, like, but they're still like a solid opponent, a solid team. So Boston ain't doing what they're doing against nobody. But that 3-headed monster, man, if they do this consistently throughout the season, it's tough when you got 3 players averaging 20 points.
So if you're Philly, say you get swept out of this playoffs, do you look to move any pieces?
Oh, the issues got to get addressed now. They've been on the brink for some time, but it's time to address these issues. It might be the coach, but honestly, Phillies need to do a whole regroup. I ain't gonna lie to you. To me, I feel like, look, the coach got to go. One of them got to go, and it's Ben to me because I'm not giving up Embiid, and I can get something for Ben. So,
can you get something for Ben? I feel like they would get lowball, honestly. Look at all the injuries.
I wouldn't allow myself to get low ball because Ben, Ben's not like you're gonna have to give me something to let Ben go. So how bad do you want Ben? Like how much?
So you're letting Brett Brown go and Ben Simmons?
Got to, because I don't know if another coach coming in is gonna be the answer to make the league work. So that's why I'm like, I just genuinely don't think Simmons and Embiid don't work because his Ben is not the all around player that he needs to be. Like. Embiid got the post. So, Ben, the majority of your game can't be in the paint. It can't. Like, it's not possible.
And my thing is, Embiid has learned how to stretch the floor as well. Embiid will straight shoot the 3 in your face. You know what I mean? And Ben Simmons rising up, I'm going to stand in the paint because I know I need to rebound.
Literally. I think the Sixers' best bet, I don't think the idea of having that large point guard works with Embiid, me personally. I feel like you have Embiid, get you a facilitating point guard. Not saying Ben can't facilitate because he can, but get you like a true point guard. And get you, if it's not going to be Tobias, get you a wing. I'm talking about a premier wing, like either low grade A tier or high B tier wing, and see what you can make from that with some role players. I think that's the direction they need to go. I don't know what their money situation is looking like.
Who do you think would want to trade for Ben? What team do you think would?
Ben needs to be on a team where he is still the second option.
Yeah, and I also feel like Ben needs to be on a team where he doesn't have to bring the ball up the court.
Yes.
He needs to stay true to the post.
Agreed. I don't know what team. I don't know. You know who Ben might actually fit well with?
Who?
Well, it would all be dependent on how they kept their roster intact. But Ben would fit in OKC. Oddly enough.
I didn't even think about that.
I doubt that trade.
I see where you're going. Because I can imagine him with Shea. I could see it.
What's funny is, for people that don't think Chris Brown was Chris Brown, Jesus Christ. For people that don't think Chris Paul will stay at OKC, I don't see that particular trade happening because I also don't see Chris Paul wanting to go to Philly either. That's another thing. Chris Paul got to choose between money or a ring at this point. Are you going to try to go be a vet on a team that is going deep in the playoffs, or are you going to want to go get paid? It's up to you. It's your decision at this point. But yeah, something got to happen in Philly. Gotta go. And it has to be different. Yeah. And then the final series, one that is not much of a series that I thought was going to be more of, Miami, Indiana.
I'm disappointed at Indiana. I just
I'm
got
extremely disappointed. TJ Warren is only averaging. He's averaging just under 20 points, 6 rebounds. It's not enough
no.
for a person that was in the MVP bubble MVP conversation.
Victor, where you at?
Vic, man. I mean, I know Vic come back from injury. He ain't 100%,
Yeah, but
but
you
yeah,
still lacing up.
yeah, 4 points a game one. Yeah, 4 points a game one. Well, I mean, Brogdon is averaging 24 and 11, and that's solid. But I mean, Brogdon is virtually by himself to a degree. That if you want to look at it that way, so it's tough. I don't know. I didn't expect Indiana to get swept, but I see that happening. But Miami looks great. Miami has all. I mean, people have been talking about Miami all year. I mean, people that have been watching closely, but Miami looks good. And I think the scariest thing about Miami is I don't think people realize just how much experience Miami actually has on that roster. You look at Jimmy, you look at a Jay Crowder, you look at Iggy. Who else they got over there? I mean, outside of your rookies, like outside of Nunn, Hero, Duncan Robinson.
I mean, Bam's out there. He's still young, but I do feel like Bam adds. Bam's dynamic is very interesting.
Yeah, Bam
He's young, but his vibe gives off vet to me.
Yeah.
That's what it is for me.
No, for sure. Bam's a very integral piece of that. Very important for them. And he's been playing amazing. He probably will get most improved player, honestly. They might give it to Luka, but we talked about that already. Yeah. But Miami, and that's the thing. Like Miami's going to more than likely sweep them, and Miami is going to pose a huge problem for Milwaukee because if Middleton does not show up and give them the offensive punch they're going to need, it's going to start looking really bad. It's going to be bad. This is very bad. It's going to look bad for them. I don't know, but yeah, Miami's definitely going to come out that series. I mean, I don't think we really expected too many of these series to be really interesting. So, I mean, where they are is kind of where, I mean, outside of the Bucks losing game one, they kind of, and Miami being up 3-0, it's pretty much where, we expect. I don't think we're surprised by anything we've seen, in this conference. But yeah, so looking forward to it. And next week, we're probably going to see a lot of these series in.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't see any of them truly going 7. And I mean, I think even the 7th game is scheduled to be like next Sunday or something. So do you see all our picks coming out of their respective matchups and how many games do you think some of these series end up going, actually, now that you've seen 3?
Yeah, I do feel like our picks are solid. The number of games aren't changing too much. Some of the sweeps might end up being 5. I think that's at most. But the Denver-Utah series, I think, depends on tonight. That's the only series that I'm scared our pick might end up falling through.
Yeah. If Denver wins tonight, I could maybe see them seesawing it out to 7. Maybe. Yeah. But if Utah wins tonight, they got it in at best 6 if they don't get it in 5. So, yeah, that's tough. That's tough. It's tough. I don't know. They got to figure it out. I don't know what that looks like. Need more from Jokic. Need more from Curry for damn sure. But yeah, no. So that's the update on playoffs through Game 3. I think it's obvious who the MVP of the playoffs is. Well, no, maybe it's not that clear. Who's the MVP of the playoffs so far for you?
I think it's too early right now, honestly.
Well, I was going to say, of course I was going to say through the first 3 games, but I guess it's too early.
I guess the way I'm feeling right now, I don't know. Donovan, he has to be in the conversation.
He definitely has to be in the conversation, for sure. I think he's averaging the most in the playoffs.
Averaging 35.
Averaging 35. Averaging the most in the playoffs. So that's definitely something to note. I think the Stars will start to, especially as they catch rhythm and things start to pick up and the intensity continues to pick up, the Stars will continue to keep elevating. I don't see Bron's stat lines changing too much. I think he stays in this close range of a triple-double. I think Giannis stays where he's at in terms of his 30 and 15. I think Harden, I don't even know if we meant, I think Harden stays where he's at even when Russ returns. I'm gonna see a lot of that changing. So I agree it's too early, but I would say kind of like the regular season. I think Brown and Giannis are both doing what they've done all year, and it's the reason why their teams are in the position that they are. Because even look at that in the loss, Giannis had 31 and 17.
Mm-hmm.
In the loss, Bron had a triple-double with 20 points, 16 and 17. So they're doing what they're supposed to do, and they are, genuinely the reasons that their, teams are able to bounce back in positions that they're in. So it's going to be interesting to see, man. I really want to see some of these second-round matchups, and maybe I won't call them equal, but maybe see some more, I guess, competitive, for lack of a better word, series. Try not to be disrespectful. but yeah. But boom. Bam. Those are the playoffs. And now for the moment that y'all always wait for when y'all watch the Right Quality, the moment of clarity. Because why? Why did this happen? Why are these people doing these things?
Mm-hmm.
Ashley, what is your moment of clarity for the people today?
Joel Embiid. So we know, like, he likes to talk trash. He likes to jab at opponents and things of that nature. So last season when they lost to Toronto, we saw a meme made out of him. He was crying in the tunnel. Then you fast forward to this year against Boston, and dude got his head in his hands looking like he about ready to cry again. So I want to know, why don't you be keeping that same energy when you got a lot to say, and then when your team getting thrashed, you want to cry about it?
He's emotional. He's an emotional guy, and like that's okay, but
it's okay, but it's like you got all this stuff to say, back it up, Joel.
He be switching, he be faking the funk.
Yeah. And I know people probably say, well, it's a team game, he's an individual. I don't want to hear none of that, because you knew it was a team game when you was at the press conference talking about how dude can't guard
you. Actually.
So
oh Lord. Okay.
I don't understand.
Okay, I don't have a moment of clarity, but this was so funny to me. So, so for inside the NBA, whatever the TNT guys,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's right. So Chuck,
I think I know what you're about to say.
Hey, why they don't call me Championship Chuck? Why they call? It was so funny only because, but I appreciate players that can do that, because, not a lot of players that don't got a ring will be willing to, talk about it and throw themselves out there like that. But he, that's real though. Like, if we talking rings, if it comes down to this, he ain't gonna I'm not gonna call myself that. I ain't win no shit. I ain't win no championship. So PG, what have you done in the playoffs to be calling yourself playoff P? All of us use it as an insult, but if for him it's supposed to be this moniker of him turning up, how you gonna say that and you over here getting 11 points, 9 points? How does that happen? I don't know. I don't really have a moment of clarity. It could be for PG and just be to do the talking that you did. I look at it. I look at the whole season. You were in OKC. You had committed to staying in OKC. You get a call from Kawhi. You leave, go home to LA, this big, family reunion, home going, what have you, right? Cool. You go, had a good season. Yeah, a good season. Why is history repeating itself, Paul George? Why? You have been put in the best situation of your career.
Definitely.
You don't even have the same pressures that you had in OKC, Indiana. You don't have those pressures at all. What's going on? Why? Why are you shrinking in this moment? And on top of that, how you trying to talk? You trying to talk to players? What? You ain't did
nothing. You coming under Bleacher Report posts. You calling out Damian, who's been holding his own.
What you doing? They ain't gonna try to hit him up afterwards to clear the air. Nah. The air's cleared. We good. We good.
Okay.
We are fine.
Do you think, okay, the show's supposed to be wrapping up. I know that, but this is on my heart right now.
What's up?
we we considered Paul George, and we talked about this in the last episode. We considered him to be a two-way player, and we call him Playoff P. We thought he was one of the most dominant defensive players. Do we still think that as far as defense goes? Because when he teamed up with Kawhi, it was two of the best defensive players in the league. Offensively, they can score whenever they want to, slash to the rim willingly. Like,
Yeah. Look, PG got a lot to prove, man. That's really the best way I can put it. It's a lot that is. People can do a lot in the regular season. It's the same way people talk about the Bucks being a great regular season team, which they are. But when you are expected to go against the same opponent and do the same thing over and over again against a team that is doing nothing but studying you,
yes,
that is the true test of how great are you? How do you adapt? Like just how much of a bucket are you? And he does not have a history of showing up in those moments. He doesn't have a history of making a name for himself. And if the Clippers do not win the championship, there's going to be a lot of eyes on him. There's going to be a lot of eyes on him because this is a move. There will be more eyes on him than Kawhi. But essentially, this is a move that was supposed to be for your benefit. Kawhi has 2 rings and 2 MVPs, sir. You have nothing. So, what are you going to do? Figure it out, bro. Figure it out. But until he figures it out, which hopefully he does by the next time our episode comes out, I am your resident Bucks fan and sports fanatic, Stephen Qualls.
I am your Carmelo stan, Ashley Wright.
And this has been another episode of The Right Quality. And until next time, peace.